Welcome dear students, this is Miss Nupur and in this video we are going to study chapter number 3, Weather and Climate. Now we already know this that the earth is surrounded by a layer of gases, okay, and what is that called? Atmosphere. Okay, so the earth, it is surrounded by a layer of gases and that is called the atmosphere, and these gases, they include mainly nitrogen, oxygen and water vapor, and the mixture of these gases, it is mostly referred to as air. So let's now learn how weather can be affected when these gases, they undergo changes. Okay, firstly we need to know what is weather. So when temperature of the gases change and move around, then they produce different types of weather. For example, when the water vapor, it condenses into water droplets, clouds are formed, and these clouds, they can block out the sun. But when the droplets fall to earth, we call it rain, and when they freeze, they fall as hail, sleet or snow, and this rain, hail, sleet and snow are all known as precipitation. Next is your wind. Wind is simply the movement of air. And how is it produced? It is produced when the gases in the atmosphere, okay, so the gases that are present in the atmosphere, when they move from an area of high pressure to an area of low pressure. So we can conclude that weather is the state of the atmosphere at a particular time in a particular place. Now when we talk about the weather, we are referring to the short-term state of the atmosphere. Cloudiness, precipitation, temperature and wind, they constantly influence atmospheric conditions, and the direction and speed, that is velocity of the wind, amount of insolation, that is the amount of solar radiation reaching a given area, cloud cover and the amount of precipitation directly affects both weather and climate of an area. Now these are thus known as the elements of weather and climate, and the influence of these elements, it differs from place to place and time to time. Just like weather, climate is also an integral part of our lives, and climate is defined as a long-term pattern of the weather conditions. Now let's do the difference between climate and weather. Now climate is the average condition expected at a particular place in a given time frame, whereas weather, it is a condition of atmosphere at a particular point of time. Now for climate, your point number 2 is, it is done by using the sum total of weather statistics over a time block of 30 years, whereas in the case of weather, it is done by gathering data related to meteorology like humidity, temperature of air, pressure, solar radiation, speed of wind and its direction. Next is climate and weather, they differ on the basis of underlying factors. For climate, it is the sum total of weather statistics of a time block of 30 years, whereas for weather, timely measurements of pressure of atmosphere, speed and direction of wind, rainfall, humidity, overcasts and other varying factors. Now the subject of study for climate, it is climatology, and for weather it is meteorology. Ingredients, for climate, it consists of elements like rainfall, humidity, sunlight, wind speed, natural phenomena like frost, fog and so on in a specific time period. Whereas for weather, the ingredients, It consists of weather elements like rainfall, overcasts, hailstorms, floods, heat waves, winds, snowfall, and many more. Now the time frame for climate, it is calculated over a long time period, whereas weather, it is calculated over a short time period. Now, what causes weather? Firstly, we need to know this fact that the earth is tilted. Okay, the earth is tilted and it is spherical in shape. And we know our earth, like other planets, it revolves around the sun. Now, due to this, the insolation received from the sun, okay, it varies and results in change of season. We know this that weather is the total sum of all elements like temperature, wind, rainfall, air, pressure, and sunshine. And they all vary with place and time. So all of these weather phenomena are a part of the lowest atmospheric layer that surrounds the earth, and different parts of the earth, they receive different amount of sunlight, and this warms the surrounding air as well. So air becomes lighter when heated up and rises upwards. So air, when it gets heated up, it becomes lighter and therefore rises upwards. And this upward movement of air, it creates a kind of vacuum in that area that is known as low pressure area. Now, air from nearby regions, they will rush towards this low pressure area, to fill this gap, and that is which we call wind. Okay, so the air that goes up in the atmosphere expands after attaining a certain height, and this expansion makes it cooler. Now, cool air becomes heavy and starts sinking downwards, and this sinking air increases the air pressure of the region where it lands, and this we call as high pressure area. And this cyclic movement of rising up and sinking down of air is called convection current. So what is convection current? The cyclic movement of rising up and sinking down of air is called convection current. Now, why is the air rising up? Because we know when air becomes lighter, okay, when it gets heated up, it becomes lighter, therefore it rises upwards. And when is this air sinking down? It sinks down because it is cool, okay, it is cool air and it becomes heavy, therefore starts sinking downwards. Now, convection currents cause changes in weather over small distances. For example, the seashore or valleys. So these currents also occur over large areas where huge amounts of air are moved and create different weather patterns.